Hi guys, Overarch here, and today I'm going to talk about some of the mech improvements coming to Battletech. So, Battletech has had a pretty successful launch, and if you know anything about the Battletech universe, you know that it is a massive universe. And there's a lot of customization that you can do in the tabletop game. I'm a big tabletop gaming nerd, so today I'm going to talk about some of the things that you can do in the tabletop and some of the stuff that they will probably be bringing eventually to the game Battletech. So first off, these are the mech improvements that you can slap onto your mechs. I'm ignoring many variants of the same thing, and really just going to be talking about the different types of improvements and equipment that you can slap onto your mechs. So the first is called Case. So Case is basically a smart way of using the mech structure to blow away an internal explosion, which prevents the damage from, say, an ammo detonation or from a gauze rifle blowing up. This is actually very similar to how an Abrams tank uses vents and doors to channel away an ammunition explosion, so it doesn't move into the crew compartment and kill the crew. So basically, if let's say you have a rack of LRM ammo, and that gets blown up, this Case, if you have Case in that slot, it will prevent the damage from moving inward on the mech. Next up is Endosteel Structure. So this takes up, it says increased cost, and it does take up mech slots, but it weighs significantly less, and it allows the mech to mount more equipment. This is best on light or medium mechs, as the heavies benefit less, and this does take up more slots, more space on the mech. Next is ECM. So ECM gave a penalty to shooting at targets, so this will likely give an accuracy penalty in-game, or it could just give more evasion tokens. Next is kind of the opposite of that, the targeting computer. So targeting computer increases accuracy at the cost of tonnage. Pretty self-explanatory. Next we have something pretty similar. It's called Artemis Fire Control. So this is similar to the targeting computers, but it's for missiles. Basically, you have improved guidance system for the missiles, and it increases the number of hits that missiles did. So kind of expect this to equate to an accuracy bonus to missiles in-game. The cost and weight were based on number of launchers you had equipped, so it was better on a larger, LRM 15s and 20s. You just got more bang for your buck. Another important thing to note is that on the tabletop, either all of your LRMs had Artemis or none of them. It's an all or nothing system. Next up is double heat sinks. So these double heat sinks cost more and took up more slots. However, they were worth 1.5 heat sinks on the tabletop. So they're more efficient per ton, but were more costly and take up more space. So this is perfect for building around a few medium or light mechs. Heavier mechs tended to have slot issues, kind of similar to Endosteel Structure if you did this. So it's really good on your light mechs who might be mounting a lot of energy weapons. And this is an all or nothing system. Either you have all double heat sinks or no double heat sinks. Next is Mask, and this stands for Monomer Accelerators something something something. It allowed a mech to double its movement at the cost of risking immobilizing the mech every time it's used. And the more turns you use it in a row, the higher the risk of immobilization. And it started out quite small, but it ramped up pretty quickly. If you used it for a couple turns, you had a good chance of bricking your mechs. Next is Supercharger. So this is basically a weaker version of Mask. It gave a slight speed boost, and it's the same type of deal where the more turns you use it, the higher the risk of damage gets, but it would only damage the mech instead of immobilizing it. Next we have Coolant Pods. So these double the heat that your mech would dissipate for a turn. They were expendable and extremely volatile, so they detonate just like ammo. If added to the game, I would expect that this would make a lot of laser alpha strike builds viable. So you would just have a mech that runs up and starts alpha striking with its lasers and using the coolant pods to keep itself relatively cool. Next is the PPC Capacitor. So this raises the damage per PPC shot, but it also significantly raises heat. This was great on lights or mediums that you wanted to have more PPC punch, but didn't have the tonnage to mount an additional PPC. Heavier and assault mechs would just mount a second PPC usually, and so this wasn't really a item for them. Next we have the Chameleon/Void signature systems. So these would mask either the mech's physical or electronic signatures. Now these are very... So the Battletech tabletop game goes based off year, and the later the year you set, the more technologies you have available to you. So this was a very late technology, well after the clan invasion, and it would literally make your mechs invisible or make them electronically invisible. And they're extremely bulky and they generate a lot of heat, but they gave really good aim penalties to attackers when they were activated. And yes, you could stack both of them on top of a mech and, you know, give it ECM and basically make it a pain to shoot. Lastly, or almost lastly, we have the active probe. So, a Beagle active probe to be exact. It's basically a sensor pod that extends the sensor range of the mechs, making enemy contacts appear earlier. And there was actually a sweet spot where you could see the enemy contacts, but they couldn't see you. So in the tabletop, it extended your range by 4 hexes, which is not bad for a half-ton of weight, but I didn't really think it was that useful either. So this last one is really more a hopeful addition rather than one that I expect to be added to the game, and it's engine modifications. So in the tabletop, you can customize your mech's engines, mounting either a larger engine for more speed or a smaller one for less weight. This isn't in the base game, and I'm really not sure why. Perhaps it was a balance issue or something like that. I don't know. But the ability to mount a very large engine into a very small mech and just have this little locust that zips around the battlefield and is almost untouchable was pretty fun on the tabletop. Likewise, being able to strip your Atlas's engine out and have it just be a very slow walking Death Star of weapons was equally awesome. So hopefully it's something they add. And in that same vein, there were also Ultralight Engines and extended engines in the game. So the way that those worked is they were kind of I don't want to say mixed bag, but they were a bit dangerous to use. So it was basically a larger engine that weighed significantly less, so you could, you know, mount more equipment or weapons or such on your mech. However, it not only took up the center torso, but also your left and right torsos as well. So critical damage to your left or right torso, or if, say, the torso was destroyed, would kill your mech. Meaning that it was a significant trade-off in terms of durability or that loss of weight. So I didn't really experiment with it enough on the tabletop, but it was definitely something that if you could put it on, say, artillery mechs would be super useful, but not something I would put on a frontline brawling mech. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know if there's any specific things you want to see in Battletech down in the comments below, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.